I welcome all the students to the video lecture on characteristics of Indian economy. In a sequence, this is my fourth lecture on the topic of characteristics of Indian economy. In my earlier three lectures, I explained six different features of Indian economy. In this particular lecture, I am going to explain some more characteristics of Indian economy. We will start with the seventh feature, that is prevalence of unemployment. As we know, the pressure of population is increasing day by day in our economy. And at the other end, the opportunities or the job opportunities are declining. At the one end, population is increasing. At the other end, the job opportunities are declining because of the implementation of capital intensive technology in our country or labor cutting technology in our country. So this situation is increasing the severity of the problem of unemployment in our country. The type of unemployment which we see in our country is a chronic type of unemployment, or we may say it is a structural type of unemployment. The structural type of unemployment is such an unemployment situation which depends upon the structure of our economy. Still, after 7 decades of planned economic development, the identity of Indian economy is known as agrarian economy, because the most of the population still depends on the primary sector for their livelihood. This is what the structure of Indian economy after 7 decades of planned economic development. At the other side, the level of income in our country is lower, therefore the rate of saving is also lower. And because of the lower level of income and lower level of savings, the rate of capital formation is also lower. No doubt in the recent decade, the rate of capital formation is increasing, but in most of the time period, the lower level of income, lower level of savings, and lower level of capital formation also created the structural unemployment problem in our country. The second important type of unemployment which we can observe in our economy is of disguised unemployment in rural India. Disguised unemployment means it is a hidden unemployment. People are working in the fields in rural area, but their labor is not increasing the productivity in the rural area, in the agrarian sector. That unemployment is known as disguised unemployment. Excess labor force is working in the rural India. Excess labor force, they are unable to contribute to increasing productivity of the agricultural sector. That second most dangerous type of unemployment that still exists in rural India. If you take a look at the statistical data of the unemployment, the 7.8% of unemployment rate in India as of January 2020. In the May 2020, this rate of unemployment increased up to 23%. No doubt this is the effect of lockdown due to the pandemic situation. The rapid increase in the unemployment rate we can see here within 3 months, 3 and 4 months, because of the lockdown. Most of the laborers who used to work in unorganized sector, they get affected with this lockdown situation and they became unemployed. So this is the overall brief scenario of the prevalence of unemployment in our Indian economy. Now, the next characteristic is prevalence of poverty. The poverty is the situation in which the section of a society unable to fulfill its basic necessities of life. The people who are not in a position to meet their basic needs, they are considered as the people living below poverty line, or the people who are living under the poverty. Basic needs means food, clothing, shelter, health, education, transportation and electricity. The access to these facilities is lower for the people who are living below poverty line. Various committees have been appointed in order to study the status of poverty in our country. The very first attempt was made by Task Force Committee, which was appointed in 1979. Then Suresh Tendulkar Committee was appointed in 2011, and immediately after Suresh Tendulkar Committee, C. Rangarajan Committee was also appointed to study the status of poverty in India. So all these committees studied the poverty, and while determining the poverty, or while determining the line of poverty, they used various criteria. The Task Force Committee in 1979, they determined the line of poverty and the ratio of poverty on the basis of calorie intake of per individual per day. They determined that the individual who is unable to intake 2100 calories in urban area per day is considered as a person living below poverty line. And for the rural area, the person who is unable to intake 2400 calories per day is considered as the person who is living below poverty line in urban area. So calorie intake criteria: 2100 calories for urban area and 2400 calorie criteria for the rural area has been determined in order to measure the poverty by this task force committee in 1979. Then in the year 2011, Suresh Tendulkar committee, they determined the criteria of monthly spending of an individual on food, health, education, electricity and transportation. The people who will get access to these facilities, they are considered the people above poverty line, and who are not having the access, they are considered as below poverty line. In order to measure their access to these facilities, that is food, health, education, electricity and transportation, the monthly spending or the monthly income is determined as a criteria for measuring the poverty. As per the Tendulkar committee, they stated that the rupees 27 per day is required in rural area and rupees 33 per day is required in urban area in order to meet these essentials. 27 rupees per day in a rural area are required to meet these basics, that is food, health, education, electricity and transportation, and for the urban area it requires rupees 33 per day in order to meet these basics. This is the criteria which was determined by Suresh Tendulkar committee, but later on the another committee under the chairmanship of former RBI Governor C. Rangarajan was appointed. This committee is known as C. Rangarajan Committee. They found that the criteria determined by the Tendulkar committee is not fulfilling the particular situation. Therefore, they revised the criteria, and they stated that the poverty line, while determining the poverty line, they stated that in the villages in rural area, rupees 32 is required per day, and in cities, means urban area, 47 rupees are required to fulfill the basic needs of the people. So, as per the C. Rangarajan committee, they stated that in India, 29 means near about 30% of people are living below poverty line. That the poverty ratio in India was 29.5%, and in rural area, this poverty ratio of poverty is 30%, and in urban area, this ratio of poverty is 26.4%. So this is the one more characteristic of Indian economy. The next characteristic is prevalence of low level of technology. In comparison to the application of superior techniques by the developed countries, the technology of India is of lower level. We are adopting the low level of technology for the agriculture and industries. Technically, the Indian economy is considered as a backwardness as far as the technological development is concerned in agricultural and industrial sector. And the another important fact for this technological backwardness is illiteracy of the people and absence of skilled labor force in our economy. No doubt, the human resources are more, the human resources are increasing by increasing population, but these human resources are mostly unskilled labor force. So this is the another challenge before the Indian economy. Then next characteristics and some other characteristics, the 10th characteristic is limited availability of transport and communication. It means still after 7 decades of planned economic development, the connectivity of the rural area is very poor. Particularly in rainy seasons, the rural areas, most of the rural areas will be disconnected in communication and as far as the transportation facility is concerned. The access to this rural area will stop in the rainy seasons because of the poor status of roadways. So therefore, the availability of transportation is limited, and the communication of facilities also limited, because in most of the rural area still we face the issues and problems of networking. In most of the places we are unable to get access to the internet, we are unable to get access to the mobile networks. In the rainy seasons particularly, the rural area, they detached from the urban cities and marketplaces because of the lack of transportation facilities and because of the poor situation conditions of the roads. And the next characteristics, existence of traditional society. Existence of traditional society means still we are predominantly depends upon the primary sector. Most of the people get employment out of agricultural sector, that is primary sector. Still we are having a problem of gender inequality, caste based inequality because of the so-called social customs, social beliefs. Gender inequality, we are not giving due respects to the women of the society. Still, the traditionally because of the caste based structure of our Indian economy, still in rural areas people do work as per the work assigned by their caste system to them. So this is the traditional system, traditional way of society which we can observe in our economy still after 7 decades of independence. Still, our people do believe on religious notions and supernatural element because of this belief on supernatural element, the efficiency of the labor will decline. They depends upon the supernatural elements. So this is the existence of traditional society hampers the development of our economy. The next characteristics is underutilization of resources. The resources of our country are not used at their optimum level. Underutilization of human resources as well as underutilization of natural resources. Still, we lack the technology of extracting the natural resources which still exists in our country. Because of the lack of knowledge of the extraction of the resources we are unable to utilize those resources. In case of human resources, we are not utilizing up to the maximum, up to the optimal extent. So this is the another challenge before the Indian economy. And the last point which I would like to mention is unbalanced development or unbalanced economic development. The unbalanced economic development, no doubt it depends upon the geography and natural factors. Within a state, we can see a different level of development in different regions. In a country, overall economy, overall country, if you observe, if you see, some nations are developed, some states are developed, and still some states are considered as underdeveloped. The Bimaru states like Bihar, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, these are the states which are considered as underdeveloped states. The states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, Gujarat, these West Bengal, these are the states which are considered as developed states because the rate of employment generation, rate of capital formation is higher in these states. So therefore, most of the people from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar migrate for the employment, for the sake of employment all over the India. All over India, they do migrate from their home state because of the unbalanced economic development. Within a state, we can observe this unbalance. So government is trying best to overcome this type of unbalanced economic development, but still from last many years we are experiencing this unbalanced economic development. So in this way I completed here the topic on characteristics of Indian economy. Thank you very much.